welcome to Special Dialogue with me, Vandana Nanwani. Today we hear more success stories than ever before of Indonesians making it big outside the homeland. From humble origins, they seized opportunities, turning themselves into business tycoons. With the 4th Diaspora Congress held this year, it goes to show the increased acknowledgement for locals abroad. This is what we will focus on in today's special dialogue. We start with Marvell Technology, a producer of storage communications and semiconductor products founded 22 years ago in the United States. So I talked to co-founder Sehat Sutardja on the beginnings of Marvell and the challenges he faced.
I've been working on electronics since I was 12 years old, and all those years, I wanted to go to the US to study electronics after I finished my high school. Get my bachelor degree and then my master degree, and I got my PhDs in electronic circuit design. And by that time, the world has moved from analog to digital. That was the beginning of the digital revolutions. In the early 80s, computers, PCs was being introduced into the masses.
So you were there to kind of witness the transition.
Right, but I was studying analog. Right, I was building radios, I was building amplifiers, I went to school to do analog designs. So I worked in the analog field for a year and a half after I graduated. And when I saw this, the world moving to digital, I ran away from analog. I went to work for digital. I went to work for a small startup company in Santa Clara doing digital design, and I had no idea how to do digital design. I have no clue, but I still took it. I was like, hey, how hard could it be?
Yeah.
So no, I worked there for 5 years. And then I realized the world's still analog. Yes, the world is moving to digital, but the analog world is not going to move to digital. We still with the real world still have to deal with the analog world, but we need to figure out how to deal with the analog world to convert to the digital world. So that's how we came up with the idea how to build electronic products that basically bridge this analog world to the digital world, called digital signal processing, with combining analog circuits into same integrated circuits. That's the original idea.
Okay. So Marvell focuses on designing the chips, but the manufacturing is in other countries such as China, Taiwan. So in the mid-90s, when you developed it, what were the challenges that you faced? Of course, today it's a normal practice where it's designed somewhere else and it's manufactured somewhere else. But when you built it in the mid-90s, what were the challenges that you faced?
There are different types of challenges in designing electronics circuits. There are the detail challenges on how to build things, higher performance, lower costs, and lower power. But those are like these typical goals moving objectives that you have to meet. That
everyone has to face through.
Yeah, everybody, every companies that want to be in this business always have to meet those challenges. And those challenges means you have to work. Nothing special about it.
So Marvell has offices in Singapore and China and India, but what about Indonesia? Why didn't Marvell want to start an office?
We have branches around the world, and I always wanted to have a branch in Indonesia, but the new management decided that Indonesia is not a good place for them to be operating. So it's a sad part. My heart feels
But that goes on to my next question, that if Indonesia is an upcoming country and the technology industry here is upcoming, why not Indonesia? And what do you think about that?
I always ask that question. Yeah. Why is it that there's only few countries in the world where there are critical masses of building electronic chips? Yeah. If you look at the critical masses, in Silicon Valley, you have critical masses in Taiwan, and then in the last 10 years there were some critical masses in China, in Shanghai and Beijing. But those are only in the last 10 years or so. And if you look at, well, in Japan, there are also some, but if you look in other parts of the world, there are no critical masses at all, whatsoever.
So what about the technology world in Indonesia? Do you think it still needs to catch up with the rest of the world, or the challenges that it's facing today?
In about 5 years from now or so, we cannot make chips smaller, or at least you cannot make it smaller and cheaper at the same time, no longer. So in the next few years, we can still make things cheaper, smaller, and lower power. But after that, if you make smaller, yes, theoretically it's possible to make smaller, but won't be cheaper. And the problem is the challenges, the complexity to build these products increasing at exponential rate. So to build a factory used to cost like a few $100 million like 20 years ago. Now it's like $10 billion. It's massive. So, and to design so complicated products, such complicated products in one device requires hundreds of engineers. You cannot start a small company and then say you only have like a few people to work.
I also want to ask you on the role of low-cost computing in developing countries and how to make technology more affordable to masses.
We have not changed the way we build computers in the last 30 years, 40 years, sadly. So everything that we built basically is the same as 30, 40 years ago, just bigger and more complex. Now, if we can solve this problem, and I think we could solve this problem, I published a paper on this. Down the road, we can build computers to be cheaper, lower power, better performance. And that will help the rest of the world to have access the same,
at a more affordable,
the same technology that used to have people that have the people that have the money to people that have country, the industrial worlds, to have access to this technology.
Yeah, it can touch many more people.
Yeah, I think eventually even people in the remote villages will have access to this technology. I've been working in electronics for all my life, and I found out that the biggest challenge, you were asking about challenges before, the biggest challenge actually is to change people's mind.
That's true, the mentality of the people.
How to do things differently.
Yes.
That's the biggest.
So for my last question, what are the tips that you can give for upcoming tech people, tech Indonesians who kind of want to go abroad or start their own tech companies here? What are briefly, just what advices would you?
What I found out over the years working on technology, have success and failures, and maybe things in between. Whenever why we have success, more likely is because we try to change the world. Whenever we fail or don't succeed as well, it's because we just want to be equal to the other people. I can only say that, at least from my experience, if you want to succeed, aim high. Aim high, you might not get there, but for sure, if you aim low, you're not going to get high.
Although Marvell was originally founded by Sehat alongside his wife and brother, following their resignation in 2010, they are no longer CEO, but Sehat still remains chairman. Throughout the years, Marvell has diversified its products, attracting more suitors when it went public in the year 2000. When we return, we check out American furniture manufacturing company that gets its products from Indonesia but manufactures in the United States. That's next. You're watching Special Dialogue with me, Vandana Nanwani. Continuing with our topic on Indonesians making it big abroad, we look at a company called American Furniture Manufacturing. It supplies furniture to hotels across the United States. So I talked to Harry Chou, the CEO of American Furniture Manufacturing, on the current business situation of furnitures in the United States and the Indo-US ties under the Jokowi administration.
back in 1994 is I'm starting doing the architect business in the Indonesia. Then since 1998, I'm in the furniture business. And from the furniture business, the first I'm start with making furniture and selling to the house to be used at house. Then 2004 we moved to doing the furniture for hospitality, because the hospitality project is more secure than the retail business.
So what do you mean by more secure than the retail?
More secure meaning like whatever I made before we deliver, we get the order and we get the deposit.
Okay.
And also we give the deposit to the factory. So basically all the factory when start doing our project, and we give them deposit. Why? Because we know it's already sold before we deliver it.
Okay, yeah. So that way, yeah, it's more
Yes,
secure.
yes.
So, you know, working in the furniture business, especially in the hospitality sector, I'm quite curious about the quality control. Like, how do you manage quality control?
That's a very good question, because quality control is very important for the hospitality, because every furniture we sold, we need to stand at least 5 years with no damage, no defect.
Okay, so the standing of the furniture at least has to be 5 years, the longevity you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the scope actually of the architecture and design industry here in Indonesia?
The architecture actually, for the one we did for the furniture for the hotel, we get the design from the client. So the client give us the design, the client give us the fabric, the client decided what color we need to put, what material, like what veneer, what laminate going to be used in the furniture.
So do you think it's like upcoming? It's an upcoming industry, more people are getting into architecture and design, or, you know, it's still kind of under the blankets, under the sheets here in Indonesia?
Actually, it's not under the blanket. Indonesia actually is very talented. Because I import also from China, from Vietnam, but I believe Indonesia is still the best. The best in the, if we give the design, they have so many creativity. They can, easy to develop than from China.
Oh, easier to develop
Yes,
here
yes.
from China. Okay, so, you know, where are the hotels that you cater for in the US? Like, is it like different types of hotel, boutique or bigger hotels, or?
Yeah, actually we did the hotel is almost all United States, and now we go to South America.
Oh,
we
expanding to South America.
Yes, we go to Guatemala, Bahama, all that places, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And go to also Alaska.
Alaska, all the way to Alaska, okay. So let's switch to talking about business now. I know that you are the president director of the Indonesian American Business Council that focuses on bridging new ventures of Asia Pacific. So what do you think is the current situation of the Indo-US relations under the Jokowi administration?
Actually, right now it's growing up. A lot of people like to invest in Indonesia, especially from China. Like, because my business in the furniture, so a lot of Chinese factory, they like to invest in Indonesia, because in China actually they don't have any wood.
Oh, they don't have wood.
Yeah,
Okay.
the raw material, the main material they don't have anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, so they like
And
to
Indonesia has that. So.
Yes.
So you said that you export from Indonesia, but you manufacture it in the US.
Yes.
So what are the products that you export from Indonesia?
We export from Indonesia is all the guest room, hotel, and also the stone. Stone, yes, from Indonesia, and some of the lighting and some accessory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it because of the prices? It's much cheaper, or you know why?
No, actually, Indonesia is easy to work with.
Easy to
work with, easy to discuss, because mostly my product is custom.
Yeah.
Every shipment, every hotel is different design, different detail.
Okay.
So that's why I require I'm to back and forth to.
Yeah. Okay. So you find it easier to kind of.
Yeah,
get
easy
your
to communicate. Yeah.
Easy to communicate. Okay. So how would you kind of encourage investment in Indonesia for the younger generation to kind of invest?
You mean invest to export to
Yes,
US?
to export to US.
To export to US is like only two. Is commitment, and we need to be trust with the buyer.
Commitment and trust.
Yeah, commitment meaning if we promise deliver this date, you need to deliver this date. You cannot delay one day.
Punctuality, yeah?
Yeah, especially for the hotel. Because one day delay, we need to count it how many rooms. Like we have like 200 rooms, and one room is like $200. We need to pay a fine. That's a lot of money.
Oh, wow, yes. Okay, so lastly, for my last question, what tips can you give to Indonesians who want to start a business in the US or in any other foreign country?
I think you need to be more patient. Patient, and don't, if example, no news from the client or something, just be patient. Keep follow up, because they don't know you, and you need to show to the client what you do or what you did. Okay. So you need to prove something.
Apart from being CEO, Chou is also President Director of the Indonesian American Business Council that focuses on bridging Asian and the States. More of Special Dialogue is coming up. As we talked about furniture, it is incomplete if we do not talk about properties. That is next. Welcome back to Special Dialogue. I'm Vandana Nanwani. Now, moving continents from the United States to Australia, Crown Group is the leading property group focusing on luxury apartments in Australia since 1996. Behind the scenes is co-founder Iwan Sunito.
Elipsis World.
Tommy Chokro talked to Iwan Sunito on the business of properties and how he conquered the property world.
Something that I felt like Indonesia has got a lot of young people, and I think if we can tap into the resources of this borderless community, a global community, and creating more, not about building, but more about a culture. You know, when you think about Silicon Valley, you got Palo Alto, where the home of Steve Jobs, but it's also the home of people like Thomas Alva Edison. The whole city was built on a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, and that's built on Stanford University. So I thought it's about time for Indonesia to actually lead the way. We had a lot of very clever young people, and I've come across with some wonderful young people who are actually importing or exporting the virtual reality to the world, and I was so surprised that we're actually doing that right now.
And to get that to the final, to make it happen, how did you arrange this to these youngsters, talents, or maybe the government officials, for example?
Well, I think we need to find, first is the land first. So we've got a couple of land, but I think lately I just come across this new venture where somebody is actually talking about bringing Crown Group to participate in the land. It's a waterfront site, which is fantastic. But in addition of that, there's going to be a massive land that it can actually create, and we virtually have to build a city of the future. It's almost like the Songdo city in Korea. It's a new city that is created, advanced technology, new culture that has to be injected into it. But we need the support of the government, but I think collaboratively, like the private and the government, and perhaps tapping into the world's best is the key and the solution to Indonesia.
Any specific location you're eyeing now?
Well, I can't say anything more than this waterfront, really. I mean, it's the first pilot project will be about $500 million GRV, gross relation value, but the next stage will be a few $1 billion, if not significant, much more than a few billion.
All right. Now, we've been experiencing a slowdown in property business a couple of years back, but now everybody is being positive for this year and the next year. And how about you?
Well, I'm always positive about property. You know, I mean, if you build the best, people are looking for the best, and there's not many people who actually create the best. I mean, when we launched Infinity by Crown Group in 2015, we sold $380 million in 5 hours. That was during the crisis in Shanghai, right?
Yeah.
Last 3 weeks ago, I mean, we launched Waterfall by Crown Group in Sydney, and this is despite the cooling back measure by the government in terms of foreign funding, foreign buyers getting funding, and we launched and sold $300 million in 4 hours. Okay. So I think it's just, even in the good time, good property sells. The bad time, good property also always sell too. Now, I'm confident about Indonesia. I think it's there's a better government and the opening to the foreign buyers. for property above $500,000 is actually positive. I don't think you're going to see a surge of those buyers, but I think it's a great beginning of a small start for something greater.
And in terms of types, what kind of types do you think is suitable for this country and of course this time?
I think it's we've specialized on residential high-rise with high amenities, like a lot of facility, like the club or the resort house, the resort facility. Now, I think there'll be people who are looking for investment. So, great position, great location with future growth is a great option for those people who buy. I think there are also people who might want to send their children to study to Indonesia, which is not many, but I think it's a growing number. There are also products that we target. I do feel that there are also people that are local who are downsizer, younger generations that want to live closer to the activities and then of course the downsizer, people in the past used to have a big home, but it's fairly lonely when you have a big home and your kids are studying overseas and your kids are now quite mobile. They don't stay home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, I'm very happy to hear that you are actually focusing to build this huge Silicon Valley in Indonesia. I mean, from Australia, if you're coming from your experience there in Australia and now you're giving your talent, mixing with all the local talents here, it's quite surprising and positive in terms of experiencing of having these talents in Indonesia. But how do you see the talents here in Indonesia?
Well, what surprises me is often is that when was the last time that we build buildings that the world is talking about? Well, and we often think that we don't have the talent. The reality is we build Borobudur and Prambanan, that the world are actually coming to Indonesia to see how beautiful the buildings are. The reality is that we build the most beautiful resorts in Bali, in the world, the most beautiful resorts of the world in Bali. So I think it's there are a lot of talented young people and creative designers and creative business people who are in Indonesia. I mean, Indonesia, after all, is the home of the 1 trillion economy, which is the largest in Southeast Asia, but we're just not promoting it well enough. So.
From a childhood spent in Kalimantan to his arrival in Sydney at the age of 18, Sunito has come a long way, even publishing 2 success books of his own. And Crown Properties still remains the leading property group in Australia. That concludes our program. I'm Vandana Nanwani. Have a good day.